Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of the Paranormal Lens podcast presented by Jotnex Paranormal. My name is Jamie Widener. That's Chad Thomas and Kirstin Truccano. Friends, how are we tonight?
Tired.
I'm great.
One word summary. All right. Yeah. Okay. Welcome to adulthood, right?
Yeah.
That's what we do.
The time change has not sat well with me, especially being in Tech Week for a show. Like I am not sleeping at night, and it's been fun. But I'm in Tech Week for a show, so that's great.
So when the adrenaline wears off, sometime Sunday afternoon, you'll crash and I'll be well.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe Sunday morning. Who knows?
Possibly.
After the cast party and everybody gets settled home.
Yeah. So if I break into song, that's why, because
go for it.
No, Music Man is stuck in my head, but no,
I highly encourage it.
So
I mean, I would be amused.
Next.
Kirstin, what's going on?
I mean, I've just been enjoying the nice weather. Sunday, Monday, basically have been out spending time with my horse. Did a nice long trail ride. And then Alex wanted to play disc golf today, so I kind of just tagged along and with a little one, and we just enjoyed being outside.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So Benjamin Franklin once said that golf is a good walk spoiled. I think it's Ben Franklin. I may be wrong. Whatever. He said a lot of stuff. Probably did it. So is disc golf the same?
I mean, I enjoy disc golf, so
okay.
I can't stand golf. But
our teammate Alex is an avid player. Chad's a testament to that. You've gone out with him, haven't you?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So he's pretty good. I've seen him.
I'm not good
because I don't want to lose.
Yeah, I'm not good, but I enjoy it.
Okay. That's these days like this, we've been waiting for him for like 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody hopefully was out and about and anywhere near us with the fair weather, and getting to enjoy all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I want to tell you guys I did something this weekend.
You did?
I did a thing.
You did a thing?
I did a thing with some stuff, some spooky stuff.
Some ghost
#
stuff?
ghost stuff, some would say. So, we all went down to the Hanover Tavern for the Paracon back at the end of January. And the Saturday night was to be an investigation of the tavern, the jail and library across the street, as well as the courthouse. And I forget the name of the museum building next to it, but all that complex right there. And the 3 inches of ice was prohibitive for safe access to those other spaces. The tavern itself was pretty clear, although the parking lot, a little suspect. But Southern Virginia does not expect to get 2 to 3 inches of ice and then remediate it quickly.
Right.
In fact, it probably took all the month of February for it to go away.
But to be fair, Pennsylvania doesn't expect 2 to 3 inches of ice to remediate it quickly either.
Yes, but we have more than one snowplow per county. So that was the story I kept hearing. And then, we have ice melt or salt or, some treatment or brine,
right?
All the stuff, we're ready for that. They have none of it. And it had to come in from somewhere else if they could get it. You heard a story while we were there of ice melt being delivered from Boston to a home, family member driving it down out, kindness and necessity, I guess, even. Mm-hmm. So all of that went away. And the investigation got rescheduled for this past Saturday evening on the 7th. I went because I had a ticket then. And, not knowing what to expect, not knowing anybody really, because it's just me, you and I, the three of us weren't together like we usually are for stuff. And I had a hell of a good time. I want to say a special thanks to the Hanover Tavern Foundation. Big shout out to them for organizing and doing this. It's a fundraiser. The ticket price was helping offset the expenses of running the joint. And the Hanover Tavern, of course, is a wonderful location. We've been there. We can attest to it. Many others have. They know. But if you haven't been and you're anywhere near Hanover, Virginia, you got to go. Mm-hmm. And 2, Transcend Paranormal, the team, the host team. This is Steve Dills and his group as the host team for this. But what was really cool, and how we run events, we have 3 sessions. There were 3 locations, so the same idea, about 45 minutes, an hour. What we do, they did an hour and a half in each location or each area. double the time we would normally in the window that we would normally spend it in. But they had guest host investigative teams leading the sessions as well, which is a really fun idea. So the Cabin on 360 folks were there, and we saw a lot of them during the Paracon. There must be like 50 people on that team. They're huge.
There's a
Awesome.
lot.
They're so cool, though. And shout out to them. The folks from Fredericksburg Paranormal Research and Investigations who were across from us at the our booth. They were there, and there's a lot of them as well. And I made a new friend, because a stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. So we started this off not knowing each other. And made a good friend in the team at Miller Paranormal out of Port Royal, Virginia, and Joshua Miller specifically. I'll talk about him in a moment. Shout out to all of those teams for hosting the groups that were formed then. I got put into a group like we would do. So this is my first time doing a thing like this, because normally we're out leading the investigation or we're out somewhere where we are just having the place to ourselves. Right. So it was cool to be the guest and not have to worry about the lead or do any of the, the stuff. So it was a lot of fun that way. We'll talk real quick about the location though, because there were some really cool things that happened. And I hope to show you at least some of that too. We started off in the jail in the library side across the street. In the jail, there was dead bell activity right away. They had a tripwire in the doorway, active, both ends of it. They had a paralight. We have a paralight with the team, and I've never seen this thing actually work. It was working regularly. So they do surprisingly work. A couple different voice apps or apps that have voice reply. All of them were active there as well. And then over in the library, there's a kids room. And in there was a spirit that engaged itself as Judy. So we assume it was a little girl. So that was really cool. And then footsteps upstairs, and we did not go upstairs. Heavy footfall. The second floor was off limits because of offices and other things. So some really interesting things happening in there. Second session was in the tavern itself. And here, starting upstairs for us, we were in the bridal suite, which you guys will recall is at the top of the turning stairway in kind of the center of the building. Right. This is the place in this area where I had a really unusual experience when we were there last time with perhaps seeing an apparition. Not sure, but I think I did. So I brought that into the conversation, but we were all sitting in the bridal suite with the tripwire out in the hallway into the room, and it was actively coming into the room as far as activation of the tripwire itself. And Chad, think of the time we were at the Clifton Theater and how we had it going down the main aisle in Theater 3 or 4. Right. Across the front, how that activation occurred, like every single light went down, like someone just walked down the aisle and across the front of the theater room. Mm-hmm. Same idea, but happening a couple times back and forth. Like someone was coming in, someone was going out. Outstanding opportunity. Voice apps were going off regularly. As we do for investigations, took a couple pictures and didn't really think a lot about it, didn't look at them closely right away. But the voice app kept saying photograph over and over, like 3 or 4 times. So finally I realized, I took pictures. So I went to look at them. And if you can bring that up, please. This is what I caught. So there's 2 shots here. Like there's 3 actually, because we do bursts of 3. But this first picture, and it's just, what I'm seeing here is a small screen. So guys, bear with us. We can figure this out to get it out to our social media later. But this is to the person to the left is Joshua Miller from Miller Paranormal. If you'll notice his left arm, he's reaching out to the table to get to his device, and there appears to be something there. So if you can go to the next slide or next picture. This will be the second burst in the burst of 3.
I would like to, but I can't. Well, here it is.
So his arm looks pretty normal now. So there is definitely some kind of distortion happening. Shortly around here as well, he was mentioning feeling a cold draft or a cold spot around the area where he is. Now, mind you, it's 65 degrees outside. It's just as much, if not warmer, inside because the heat of the day is still here on the second floor, the upper floor of the tavern. I couldn't account for that. But some very, very interesting stuff here. And then he left the room shortly after this to go check on the rest of the group, which was down the hall and over toward the other offices. And his app said Joshua as soon as he left. So something definitely, and he has investigated this space several times, he and his team at Miller Paranormal. So I found this to be really, really interesting. And then, not to be outdone, we went downstairs to the theater, and we've all been in, and three of us have been in this room.
Oh, yeah.
It's an active theater that we were told not to go on the stage. There's a transition of shows, how it goes, Chad, like the lights are down.
Right.
There's stuff, there's equipment on the stage. There's, construction gear, all that stuff. So we really couldn't go on stage or backstage at all. But sitting in the auditorium seating, then I'm at one end, the rest of the group's at the other. We do have a music box on the stage as well as a K2. And the K2 would go off, active to red, and then the music box would play. And they are probably about 4 feet apart, but like one at the front of the stage, one back about 4 feet off of the front. So that happened, I can't count how many times, in that order, K2, that music box. But the most interesting thing, and I didn't catch this myself because I didn't think to have my recorder on, silly me, but there was an audible whistle in the room, and it was a two-tone, like I can't whistle to save my life, but a boo boo, kind of like that, like someone getting your attention. If you think back to our experience at Tala, where we kept hearing that same whistle, it was kind of like that idea, except not as long, and where it sounded like someone was just like, "Hey there," So we all heard it though, and that's the weirdest part of it. Out loud, we all heard it, and then we were just kind of in the middle of a conversation. I asked, "Hey, did we just hear that, or is that equipment? What is that?" And they're like, "No, we heard it too. We just thought it was you." And I'm like, "What's that mean? I don't know how to whistle." So why would I be whistling? So went back, reviewed it on the audio, and there it was, clear as day. So really, really, really interesting thing. And then there's a laser grid also on the back wall of the stage, and there was some activity moving on the far corner, which would be like the back left stage or stage right area, audience left, house left. So all in all, the tavern did not disappoint.
Cool.
And lastly, we went over to the courthouse and the museum. Not a lot there. They had a music box in the back of the courthouse. It went off several times as if someone was passing around the back area. The voice apps, again, one asked a very good question, and it was, "Why are you here?" Isn't that the question we should be asking? And then lots of K2 activity in there as well. So by that point, it's 2 or so in the morning, and we were all wrapping up. So, but really, really great investigation, really good way of doing it. Kudos to Transcend and all the other groups that led the sessions. I want to go back. Now, let's go now, kind of thing. So the question is when, of course. So I'm going to keep an eye out for opportunities there and try to get back down. And 3.5 hours away, all that stuff, well worth the drive because the place is really interestingly and active. So if anyone's in the Southern Virginia, the eastern side of the state, Richmond, Ashland, area, Hanover is not far away. If you're passing through the area, give them a stop and check it out. To stop in for dinner, you don't have to be there for an investigation. I think you'll get a good sense of the place just by walking around with the history that it holds, the property itself. It's a really good idea to get there if you can.
And you should always ask if Steve's there because there's
or any of the Dills family. They're all there.
Yeah.
So, and as it goes afterwards, of course, I'm chatting with Steve, and then everybody else has left, and it's like 3:30 or 4 in the morning. We're standing out in the parking lot talking. He's like, "You got to go." I'm like, "So do you."
Right.
So, but anyway, time well spent. No matter what there.
Good.
So, did a thing, and stuff happened. So, fun. All right. Well, speaking of fun, we should probably get to the episode, right?
Sure.
Thanks for letting me segue off of that.
Wait, there's an episode tonight?
There is an episode tonight. Oh, by the way, I want to tell you this last bit. Because of daylight savings time kicking in, I'm pretty sure that I spent more time driving home than I did sleeping while I was there. So probably, DC and Baltimore traffic was not much fun on a Sunday afternoon.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So I got caught in both and then something else before I even got there. So, yeah. But again, time well spent. I'll do it every time. No worries. Good. All right. This is where we need that paranormal bus. Someone else can drive it.
Parabus.
Yeah.
Listen, Bert showed us the Parabus and why we need to start a GoFundMe.
I know. So I'm going to tell you this. I took that picture, and it is now the background of my laptop, just as a wish list moment. So, yeah, everything starts with a dream, right?
Right.
If you envision it, it'll happen.
If you're going to dream, you might as well dream big.
Or if you win the lottery, it'll happen.
Oh, that's also I dream of buying a ticket.
Play.
Yeah, somebody's got to play. But
exactly.
Anyway, well.
All right. Well, in a segue, and I'll use some Monty Python here, if I may. Now for something completely different.
Sure.
So we're here tonight to talk about the Goldfield Hotel. Have you guys heard of this location? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good. So where in the world are we? That's where I always start. We are in southwestern Nevada. I drew a blank. Gosh, and out in the mountains, and kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We were about 2.5 hours west of Las Vegas and about 4.5 hours south of Reno. For reference, we are actually closer to Sacramento in California than we are either of those places. It's about 2 hours away, but it is literally in the middle of nowhere. So, and the why, right? That's always where we start. So the history part. In the early 1900s, the Nevada desert was not that quiet. Was not the windswept place that we imagine today. Thanks to a major gold discovery in 1902, the town of Goldfield exploded into existence almost overnight. Prospectors, investors, merchants, and dreamers poured into the region, eager to strike it rich. At its peak, Goldfield was Nevada's largest city, with a population estimated around 20,000 people, an astonishing number for a remote desert settlement. Into this whirlwind of ambition rose the magnificent Goldfield Hotel, completed in 1908. Built at the reported cost of approximately $300,000 to $400,000, which was an eye-watering figure at that time. The hotel was a bold statement. Goldfield wasn't just a mining camp; it was a city of refinement. And for reference, $400,000 in 1908 is about $14 million today. When the hotel opened, legend says champagne flowed from the roof during the celebration. Whatever literal or slightly exaggerated, the message was clear. This was luxury planted firmly in desert dust. The Goldfield Hotel was designed in grand classical revival style, complete with brick construction, elegant stone detailing, and commanding balconies. Inside, it featured more than 150 rooms, many with private bathrooms, which was a significant amenity in 1908. The lobby was adorned with mahogany woodwork, ornate plaster ceilings, polished tile floors, crystal chandeliers, and a sweeping staircase worthy of a Gilded Age mansion. Guests enjoyed electric lighting, steam heat, and one of the earliest Otis elevators in the region. Telephones connected rooms to the front desk, a modern marvel at the time. The dining room, known as the Gold Room, offered fine cuisine shipped in by rail. Imagine sipping imported wine while the desert wind whistled behind the thick walls. Prominent figures, mining magnates, and investors passed through its doors. One frequently associated name is George Wingfield, a powerful Nevada banker and businessman who played a major role in Goldfield's financial life. Whether sealing mining deals or entertaining guests, the hotel became the town's social and political heartbeat. But boomtown prosperity can be fleeting as desert rain. By 1910, mining output began to decline. Ore veins thinned, and investors quietly withdrew. Goldfield's population dropped sharply within a decade. Fires in 1913 devastated portions of the town, further weakening the economy. The Goldfield Hotel held on through the 1920s, but its once bustling halls grew quieter. During World War II, it briefly served as housing for military personnel from nearby air training fields. Still, the glamour of its early years never returned. By 1945, the hotel closed its doors. Over the decades, new owners attempted restorations, but the cost of maintaining such a grand structure proved daunting. Time, weather, and vandalism left their marks. Yet, remarkably, the building endured. Its shell still stands proudly on Goldfield's main street, dignified, slightly weathered, and full of stories. Today, preservation efforts continue in cycles, fueled by equal parts historical admiration and, of course, supernatural curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about some of that. As the hotel aged and sat vacant, stories began to fill in silence. In small towns, especially former boom towns, legends grow easily. Combine empty hallways, creaking floorboards, desert winds, and a once grand building, and you have the perfect recipe for ghostly folklore. By the late 20th century, the Goldfield Hotel had gained a reputation as one of Nevada's most haunted locations. A few of those haunts. The most famous tale centers on room 109. According to local legend, a young woman named Elizabeth was romantically involved with George Wingfield. When she became pregnant, the story claims that she was hidden away in room 109 to avoid scandal. In darker versions of this tale, she was chained to a radiator and left to die after giving birth. Historical documentation supporting this story is thin, and many historians question its accuracy, but that hasn't stopped the legend from flourishing. Visitors and paranormal investigators report that there are sudden cold spots in room 109, and there is the sound of soft crying, shadowy figures in white. Of course, you have to have a woman in white, and equipment malfunctions during investigations in the space. Some claim to see a woman standing near the window before vanishing. Whether folklore or something unexplained, room 109 has become the emotional centerpiece of the hotel's haunted identity. But then not all alleged spirits are sorrowful. Some visitors describe the sensation of being lightly touched or tapped on the shoulder near the grand staircase. Others report childlike giggling echoing from the empty corridors. Then there's the thin, mysterious scent of cigar smoke. Though no one is smoking, the smell reportedly drifts through certain rooms, often attributed to the spirit of George Wingfield himself, still checking in on his investment. It's almost charming to imagine a well-dressed 1908 businessman lingering in spectral form, ensuring standards remain high. The more dramatic stories involved an entity nicknamed the Stabber, said to appear in the dining room holding a knife. Importantly, no verified physical harm has ever been documented. The story seems to stem more from modern ghost hunting folklore than historical record. Television shows such as Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters have featured the Goldfield Hotel, amplifying its reputation. Investigators have captured electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, sudden temperature drops, and unexplained sounds. Whether these experiences are paranormal evidence or the power of suggestion remains a lively debate. Maybe a little bit more on that in a minute. Mm-hmm. So, why does the legend persist? Well, abandoned buildings invite imagination. They add adding in dramatic history, economic collapse, and a few tragic rumors, and a site can easily become haunted in cultural memory. The Goldfield Hotel sits at the crossroads of a boomtown ambition, an economic decline, some architectural grandeur, and post-paranormal fascination. It is the place where history and storytelling blend seamlessly. The building's creaks could be settling beams or something more theatrical. Its drafts could be desert wind or a playful spirit passing by. And perhaps the ambiguity is the real magic. Standing on the quiet main street of Goldfield, the Goldfield Hotel feels less like an abandoned building and more like a pause in time. Its brick facade still catches the desert sunlight. Its windows still reflect the wide Nevada sky. If you listen carefully, whether with historical curiosity or paranormal imagination, it still has plenty to say. From a historical standpoint, the hotel represents dazzling optimism of America's early 20th century frontier. It was built not cautiously, but boldly. Its architects and investors didn't design a modest boarding house. They built a palace in the desert. Electric lights, fine dining, polished woodwork, and telephones in guest rooms were declarations of confidence. Goldfield believed it would last forever. The town was proof of that belief. But history, like mining booms, rarely follow a straight line. When the gold thinned and fortunes shift, the building transitioned from symbol of prosperity to monument of memory. Yet even in decline, it never lost its presence. In many ways, its empty halls became even more powerful than its bustling heyday. Silence settled in, and with silence came stories. Paranormal legends surrounding the hotel may not be supported by solid archival documentation, but they serve a cultural purpose. They animate the building. They keep visitors engaged. They transform brick and mortar into narrative. The tale of Elizabeth in room 109, the drifting scent of cigar smoke, the playful footsteps on the staircase. These stories invite us to interact with history emotionally rather than just academically. And perhaps that's the real enchantment of the Goldfield Hotel. Haunted or not, the building demonstrates how places gather layers over time. First comes ambition, then experience, then memory, finally, myth. The hotel contains all four. Its history grounds it, its legends elevate it. Together, they create a site that appeals equally to preservationists, architectural enthusiasts, ghost hunters, and casual travelers looking for something a little unusual. There's also something uniquely American about its story. Boomtowns rise on hope, they fall on economic reality, and the structures left behind become storytellers. In that sense, the Goldfield Hotel is not just about Nevada, it's about the cycle of aspiration and adaptation that shaped much of the American West. Today, ongoing restorations efforts suggest that the building's next chapter may still be unwritten. Whether fully restored to grandeur, partially preserved as a historic landmark, or maintained as a carefully managed haunted location, it continues to evolve, and that evolution keeps it alive. In the end, the question isn't simply, is the Goldfield Hotel haunted? A better question might be, what kind of stories do we choose to keep alive? The hotel reminds us that the history doesn't disappear when the doors close. It lingers, sometimes in archives, sometimes in architecture, and sometimes in whispered tales passed from visitor to visitor. Standing there at dusk with desert wind brushing the old brick walls, it's easy to feel that the past is not entirely gone. Whether you come seeking gold rush history or ghostly intrigue, the Goldfield Hotel offers both with a subtle smile. It is dignified, but not distant, mysterious, but not menacing. A little dramatic, perhaps, but then again, what grand hotel isn't? So it remains, a desert landmark where reality and legend share the same address, where ambition once sparkled like freshly mined ore, and where, just maybe, a few former guests have never quite checked out. Now, let me cite some sources. Let's discuss. So first, we have travelnevada.com/hotels/historic-goldfield-hotel. We have paranormaltraveler.com/1560/ the haunted history of the Goldfield Hotel. legendsofamerica.com/nv-goldfield hotel. And I love this one, guys, hauntopedia.com. Yeah, Hauntpedia. Haunted spaces, yeah, /haunted spaces/state/Nevada/Goldfield Hotel, haunted hotel in Goldfield, Nevada. I'll tell you, who comes up with names for things? That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Before we go too far, I want to come clean on something, and maybe not come clean is the right way to say this, but I want to share something. Going back, many years now, because it's been a while. I have, we all have like aha moments when something just pops for us and we're like, holy wow, like that something just clicks. When I first found about this location, it was, and in giving full credit to the Ghost Adventures guys, this was their launch of them to the world. It was a 2-hour episode or 2-hour special. It wasn't even an episode yet of them investigating Goldfield as a town. They're from Nevada. So, they were local. They are locals to this. Mm-hmm. The original team, back in the day, Aaron, Zach, Nick, so forth. They did the cemetery in town, some modest activity there. The end of the episode is them coming to do the hotel and all the way through it. And this is back in the days when everything was a lockdown. It wasn't, they literally they showed someone locking the door behind them as they came in. They weren't getting out until crack of dawn kind of thing. Love those old school episodes. So they're in the hotel, they're going through, they go to 109, they go to other places. At some point, they find their way to the basement and something remarkable happens. And for me, this is the aha moment. So I have a clip for you to show. And Zach, please don't sue us. But this is on YouTube. It's everybody can find it. It's out there in the world. So I think we're safe. So Chad, if you won't mind.
Okay. Do you want me to go in?
Is that you?
Making all that noise.
This is the room.
What room?
What I'm talking about.
Is that you making all the noise? Holy oh my god! Holy stop! Stop! Go!
So, again, it's on YouTube. All you gotta do is search Goldfield Hotel brick. You'll find it. But that brick and the subsequent board, that brick flies across the room, board falls, all that stuff. The clip goes on. It's about 4 minutes, and they take it to a forensic video expert at a college, and he can't find anything that's faked about it. The reaction is genuine. In the episode itself, they eventually find their way upstairs. They they can't get out, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, they climb out a second floor window and get out of the building because they're scared. And they should be, right? Because they're in the basement of an abandoned building and stuff's moving around on them. This is my aha moment, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, that this is what really has intrigued me to get started being an investigator all those years ago. And we all have that catalyst moment, and I guess what I want to ask of you two and everybody out there, whoever's listening, what's yours? We talk about our stories. We've shared our history of things where we grew up, activity in our homes, things like that piqued us. But what's that one first thing you remember seeing, like, and I'm gonna have to curse here, but like, holy shit moment? What is that moment for you guys? And I can add to that, like that picture I shared earlier of the investigation this weekend. That was another one of, oh wow, they still come, but you always remember your first, right?
Well, I think some of mine, or some of the things I remember, were the footsteps in my parents' house. Like that, you hear footsteps that shouldn't be there every night, and it works on you. And then the one that really sort of triggered me is my experience at the Fulton when I was on the paint bridge. I think I shared it the night I talked about the Fulton, but I was on the paint bridge, which is a suspended catwalk between two other catwalks, basically, that's only tied in at the two ends. And if you jump on it, it bounces because it's a cable stayed structure. And I was the only one in the theater, and something jumped on it behind me and bounced that paint bridge. So something like that that's a real aha moment. So
absolutely, it's physical. That's the other side of it. Like, it's, well, if you ever get the I say advantage or pleasure of being touched in investigation, some will agree that that's a pleasure. And that moment, like, you're like, ooh, that shouldn't happen. There's no reason for it to happen, and it sticks with you. I agree.
And I think we've all had that happen in our time together. We've had that happen at different places we've been. I know I've had it happen at the brewery. I had it happen at White Hill. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Kirstin, what about you?
I mean, like you, grew up in a house that was haunted, but I think it had to be the biggest aha moment for me had to be with Fort Mifflin. Just being up on the hill that goes down to Solitary, and it was like earlier Ghost Adventurers. We got locked in. Like, they literally locked the gate and everything. No one was getting in, no one was getting out. And all the other teams were nowhere near the barracks that we were staying in. And I'm just staring, and I'm literally looking at a full apparition in the window just waving at us. And it was like, we're like, oh, we got to go see what's going on, because like someone's in the building that we're going to be sleeping in. And it was, as soon as we started walking towards it, we literally watched this thing not even run, just float back and just almost like fly off into like another room. And we were like, oh my god, like that's none of us had seen a full body apparition. couldn't find it. We went back, and 15 minutes later, I looked away and looked back again, and it was back. And I'm like, that is wild, because we couldn't explain it. And we all had walkie-talkies, so we're like, go talk. Like, we were calling the other teams, and they're like, no, none of us are near there. So I think that was my biggest aha. I want to do this more.
Oh, wow. Yeah, of course. And that's so rare, to get an apparition once, much less twice in the same area. There was something was trying to be shared. Your connection was made. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't want to. I obviously want to discuss the Goldfield because I think there's a lot here to talk about. But for me, again, that's my connection to this place, and I think we all have our places that we have those moments from. They're fond, and again, anybody out there listening, drop us a comment. Let us know where you're at with it too. Very, very interested to hear from you. So
Jamie, I want to. You said something about this clip, about how they had every right to be scared and to run and to freak out like that. But again, this is what we talk about as the difference between a paranormal investigator
I know.
and a ghost hunter. Because as a paranormal investigator, that should intrigue you to say what has and look into it, not run from it.
They in fairness, they do come back.
Okay.
So, the promise of, safety, I think was overwhelming at that point, getting away from whatever that was. And if a brick starts flying around a room, you don't know if you're going to be safe or not, right? If there's one, there could be 2 or 20.
I'd probably run. I'd rather not get hit by a brick.
Or the board, and any of that stuff,
I guess. I don't know.
I would go back though. I'd be like, all right.
Yeah.
In a very worst case scenario, is this place falling apart, which is possible given its age and its,
especially if you're in the basement.
Yeah. So I
guess
we pick a lot on some things that the team has done on Ghost Adventures through the years, and some of it's bombastic and intentional. But that moment is real for me, and I got it. I get that what they did, and I don't fault that.
Right.
The clip also continues that Nick gets separated from them, and they're trying to find him as well, and how he, where he went, where everybody runs left and you go right. All of a sudden, you're alone, right?
So, you're like Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry just disappears. He drifts. Like they're literally running and they split up. So, then you have the concern of where's my friend, and all that happening is on top of the what the heck just happened moment. So, I'll give them grace on this one. They got better at it as they went. But I agree, and that's kind of the point. And I was thinking that with Kirstin's situation at Mifflin, you're seeing this happening. You want to go to it. Others would run away. Like that's us. We go forward.
Right.
I remember the first investigation I ever did. We were in a speakeasy in York in the basement of a building, and for lack of a better word, it was a speakeasy back in the day. And we had a grid up on a wall, and there was stuff moving on the edge of the grid, and then everybody else was like, "What is that? What is that?" And my instinct was just to go to it and figure it out.
Right.
And that's kind of when I knew I was going to be an investigator. Right. I think, so I'm not going to run from it. So I've gone into those dark places more often than others maybe do on purpose.
Right. You would ask about, other people's experiences, and Heather says the Halderman mansion, walking in a room and seeing Bert when Bert was in the next room. Only time she's ever been scared.
No.
So. Doppelgangers aren't a mess, something to be trifled with. So,
I don't like that.
So yeah, and one Bert's enough. Really, come on, geez.
Heather had also said earlier is most places have a lady in white, but not a stabber.
Okay.
True.
If I saw some spirit with a knife, I'd be like, all right, you can try it. Come on, buddy.
See, I don't know about it, that I'd want to,
Here's my thought. If they're gonna stab me, guess what? I'm haunting them. That ghost is also getting haunted.
Oh, the cycle. It just spins.
Exactly.
All right. The haunted gets a haunt. The haunter becomes a hauntee.
Yes.
All right.
That's when they're going to be like, the next group of investigators that come in, they're going to be like, take this one, please.
Wow.
No one cut ties. Let them go with you.
Well, One of the things about it for me is room 109. You know, the whether the story's true or not, it's plausibly believable to say that could have happened. You know, certainly people, men in the day, you know, were untouchable. You know, in so many ways, they could do what they wanted. Women were property to a lot of men, and in this case, you know, having an unexpected or unwanted pregnancy, you know, I can get that would have been the case, and
especially in this time, in this town, like this type of
yes,
town.
you know, there's less laws in the West at this point. It's still early on. You know, Nevada's a state, of course, but you know, some of these places just still had old, you know, Wild West justice, and or lack of any of it. Um, with we talked about this a lot, you know, through the folklore episodes we've done, and even having our friends over at Penn State with us, you know, with Jeff and Sean. Um, Folklore is at least some of it is built on some kind of a truth. There's something in there that is the catalyst, you know, and so that makes me think that even if this is fantastical and not true, there is something about this that something happened there, and you know, otherwise, well, I mean, stories are stories. I get it; things are made up, but most good stories have some shreds of truth in them, you know, at least in there from their origin. So I do kind of tend to believe that something happened there. Just what it is, we'll never know.
Right.
Because records were poor and they didn't have to be kept necessarily. But gosh, I hope it didn't really happen.
Right.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Of course, there's no tell of what happened to the child after the birth as well. So I'm assuming Wingfield kept it and hopefully raised it.
Right.
Hope so. But he's a real person. At least there's truth in that person's presence there and in that community.
So what can you tell us about the Winfield or the Goldfield Hotel now?
Nothing. It's shuttered. You know, if you have the right amount of money, I'm sure you can get in, but it's not even available for tours or investigations or things like that. You know, like if you show up at Goldfield for the day, you're just walking around the outside. It's locked up. So, you know, it's there. Don't be wrong, and it's in fairly good condition. You know, this is the benefit of being a brick building, or you know, and a well constructed building in general. Versus, you know, half the town went up in flames back in 1913 because it was all wood buildings, stick built buildings. So, you know, they didn't stand a chance against a flash fire. But, you know, the hotel's resilient that way because of it. You know, and in a lot of the pictures, you know, it still has the glass windows. You know, no one's there vandalizing it. There's not spray paint all over it. It's very interesting how it's been left alone in so many ways. So, I don't know. It's just there, and that to me is the weirdest part of it. That, you know, you would think somebody would get in, you know, and especially like the Ghost Adventures guys, you know, like they have the resources now, you know, from all the success they've had through these last, you know, gazillion years of their activities, that maybe somebody within the group would get it, but it's privately owned and they're not interested in letting anybody through it.
Right.
So there's hope. Right. At some point, someone's going to say, okay, we're going to do something here. And whether it be restoration or whether it be partials enough to let folks through, you know, we know that we as the paranormal can help fund these kind of things, you know, with the ticket sales from investigative opportunities. But the place has to be sturdy and secure enough, you know, to let people come in on the regular. And maybe it's not. So, you know, I don't know.
Well, apparently. Apparently in 2020 it was on the market for $4.9 million.
Oh.
All right. So we either get a bus or we buy the building. Which one's it going to be?
I don't think a bus is going to be that expensive.
Oh, the bus I want is.
No. 4.9 million, that's pocket change.
So
all right, let's get another GoFundMe going here. I have lived in the Southwest. I've told you guys this before. So, you know, for me to get there and be there, I would be quite happy. You know, in the region, in the area, it's beautiful out there. It just is. I mean, you have to like brown because everything is, but you know, it's high desert, but really, really, really interesting. And this town still exists as well, even though it's minimal now from what it was. With, you know, and 20,000 people is not a huge place, but back in 1902 through 1920 or so, that was a lot, for a Western desert town. Las Vegas was smaller. Think about that, how big Vegas is now. It's the machine that it is with all of it. All it would have taken was for more gold to be available there for it to stick longer and perhaps catalyze even more to a bigger thing. That's the downside of this, is how many times these towns, and there's a lot of them. When I lived in New Mexico, in Albuquerque to Santa Fe, it's a straight drive up I-25. It's about an hour or so. And every exit you're passing by, these towns that were there, they were once silver towns. And then the road off to the right, I forget what it is, that there's a rural route, was a silver trail, because that's where all the mines were, over there in the mountains, out in the, that area. So, and that's following, the west side of the Rockies as you're going up. So, there was a ton of mining and a ton of resource pull out of those areas, but then eventually it dried up and the towns went with them. There was nothing, there was no reason to be there. Right. Or there was word that there was a better dig somewhere else, and folks just packed up their stuff and left. They had no ties or no anchors there other than the resources they were trying to pull from the ground. So,
sometimes they didn't
even lifestyle.
Yeah. Sometimes they didn't even pack their stuff up. They just left.
Well, that's true. Yeah, they just left. They're too heavy to carry, too much to worry about it. Didn't need it anymore.
Well, you wanted to get there before everybody else. So, Bert said that this is too far away without a bus, so nobody's on road trip on this one unless we get a bus.
Okay, so we got to get the bus first. That's the first GoFundMe, and then the second GoFundMe is the hotel.
And we can live in the bus until we get the hotel fixed up. So
exactly,
sort of anyway. All right. Hey, what I said earlier, you got a dream, right?
Yep,
it starts with a dream,
and
then it becomes a reality. So, or somebody at least go get this place, please. Goodness, I will buy tickets. I swear.
I'd buy tickets.
Yep,
I'll buy it, and I'll charge $1 million per ticket, and.
Just, all right, what are you guys going to be investigating in here for? Where's the stabber?
Where's the stabber?
Gonna find me in the basement with the waiting for him to throw a brick or something.
So.
No bricks for you. No bricks.
You know what? If a brick got thrown at me, yeah, I'd probably run first, but I'd be like, wait, no, do it again.
Yeah. Well, it's self-preservation. I get it. That's kind of maybe the best way to say it. Just get away from this, fight or flight, right?
Right.
The flight instincts kicked in with them, and I don't blame them.
I don't either.
So what do you guys think? I mean, it definitely seems like there's some haunted activity there where there's video image, video capture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think it's active. I'd like to be able to prove it. And that's kind of what we've been saying all along here, with the wish of it being available to us, to the community. But, from what I've been able to diagnose, and there's not a lot of investigator evidence here because no one is really there other than, the shows that paid to get in, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, a few others along the way. They weren't just let in. I'm sure they made some money on those people being there.
Right.
So, and that's the proof that, it's a revenue driver. But, because there's not a lot of investigations there or access to the place to investigate it, there's not many more tales than what has been presented publicly this way. Right. So I'd like to think there's activity there just waiting for us to explore it and engage with us.
I mean, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think there is some activity there. Because I've seen the Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventurers. I've seen Project Fear's episode on this. Nothing was ever the same. Like all 3 episodes, like everyone's seen the brick being thrown. No one's tried to have that recreated. Like everything seemed different, and it all seemed like enough to be like, yeah, there's something happening. I mean, for the time period with like the gold mining and everything, and then it turned into what, like homing for some soldiers that were training.
Yep. Yeah, it was some of the Air Force or the Air Reservists.
Right. There's there's so much history behind it. There's probably energy that's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I'd say it's paranormal.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Since no one else has said it, I'm just going to say road trip.
Road trip. Okay. Hashtag road trip for hashtag ghost stuff.
There we go. All right. So how do you start a GoFundMe for a bus, by the way? I'll have to Google that. All
right. Google how to GoFundMe.
Yeah, how to GoFundMe. Yeah.
Can I use my GoFundMe for a bus?
Yeah, it's true.
And the GoFundMe be used for paranormal stuff?
That's a great question. Like, what's the ethics to hear of this?
Well, wasn't Jason doing a GoFundMe for the Conjuring house?
Yes. Yeah, yep. There was at least, I don't know if it was him, but there was an active GoFundMe to purchase the Conjuring house from its last sale.
So it's allowed?
It did not make a lot of money, as I understand it. So hence there was no acquisition, but.
Yeah.
Yep. So. All right. Well, Jamie, thank you for bringing more information about this to us. I knew a little bit, but didn't know any details, and so
I'm same way. So the more you know.
Oh, I have a little PSA with the star.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Nice.
Now we're trying to just get copyright infringement all over the place tonight.
Yeah, we're
I'm ready for all this.
This might be our last episode.
Jeez. There's so many cease and desists that are coming. I can't wait.
Oh boy. All right. We mean well, everyone, I swear.
That's Kirstin Truccano.
It's fine. Bring it on.
So, oh my. So,
all right. Well, speaking of moving on, let's move on.
What's coming up?
Yeah, Kirstin, you dug us into this whole. Why don't you take this and get us out of here?
Perfectly fine. Next week, I'm doing Echoes in the Hall, The Haunting of the Stanley Hotel. It's going to be a lot of fun.
See, that's how you do it, Chad. Right there. That's the marketing side of it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be the best episode ever.
Great. Well, it's a hotel that I've always been interested in because, Stephen King, and I love Stephen King. So, why not talk a little bit about the hotel that inspired The Shining? Probably one of the most dry books, but great story.
Yeah, every time someone says that, I always think of the Simpsons episode where they call it the shinning because they didn't want to get sued.
The shinning. Yes.
So in context to our conversation, perhaps it is now the shinning.
Okay.
Wait. You can't post pictures, but GoFundMe says yes, you can use it for a bus and travel expenses. Yes!
All right. There it is. Bert said so.
Yes. Let's get a bus.
Anyway.
So
I guess we need to go to the next slide. There we go.
Following episodes, Chad's going to be back with the Edinburgh Vaults, Life and Death Underground on March 24th. March 31st, Jamie will be the Bridgewater Triangle. April 7th, I'll be back with Lord to the Deep, Legends of the Siren. And April 14th will be Chad with the Williamson Tunnels, Liverpool's Buried Past.
So you see, I'm sort of making a connection there.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of tunnels.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I started digging into the Edinburgh Vaults.
Seriously? Yeah. You just said digging into...
I did.
There it is.
So...
Listen...
He corrected me last time, so it is Edinburgh.
It's only fair.
Listen, I'm a very Danish, Ashkenazi Jewish person.
Kirstin,
I'm going to mispronounce things, Bert. I'm sorry.
Listen, I excused us all a long time ago when I said, "Look, I'm going to say this wrong, so I'm just going to American up this here." So, grace, please.
Yeah,
we'll get it right before the episode.
I mean, eventually I might get it right, so I'm sorry, Bert.
All good.
Anyway, If you anyway, if you want to get in contact with us, you can go to www.jot-nixparanormal.com. If you want to get in contact with us on the podcast directly, you can use our email for paranormallenspodcast@gmail.com. We do have a link tree that is linktr.ee/paranormal lens. And that will have some interesting little things. You can buy some nice little spooky stuff we have. Or if you want to help support the podcast at all, you can also go to Buy Me a Coffee. It does take a little bit of money for us to run the podcast. But even if you don't want to pay or anything or give money, that's fine. We're going to still be here doing this and enjoying it the whole time. But that link is buymeacoffee.com/paranormal9.
Yes,
and funds for the bus can be donated there as well. So,
oh yeah, let's do that for the bus.
So, as you can tell, these are always very live episodes.
Oh my gosh, and unscripted.
Very much.
Well, listen, that's probably a good time to say thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Listen, I like unscripted. Just improvise the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you're an actor. There it is.
Yeah, I hate
an improv actor.
I'm a technical person. I like scripted.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in between these two. So
I can't. Buymeabus.com.
Oh my!
I don't like scripts. I thrive in an improv, and I think that's from doing the Ren Fair for like 10 years. Mm-hmm. I don't know what a patron is going to say to me, but I got to somehow make a thing out of it.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, should we wrap it up and and call it a week
and start a Buy Me a Bus? Yes.
Yeah, let's get a good night's sleep before the cease and desist letters start rolling in tomorrow.
I can't wait.
Oh my. All right. Well, let's see. Where am I? The Goldfield Hotel has survived boomtown glory, decades of abandonment, and countless stories of the unexplained. Whether those stories are paranormal encounters or the weight of history lingering in the desert air, it's still up for debate. But one thing is clear. The legend of the Goldfield Hotel isn't going anywhere. So until next time, stay alert, stay respectful, and stay curious. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.